The cold winds blew through the streets of European cities as Pope Gregory VIII issued his papal bull in 1187, calling upon Christendom to reclaim the Holy Land. Word spread through bustling marketplaces and across the countryside, reaching knights, farmers, and merchants alike. The call was clear. All able-bodied men were summoned to answer the Crusader cause, their devotion to God to be tested by fire and sword. The knights, armored in polished steel, responded first, their hearts swelling with a sense of duty and glory. Their squires, often young boys from noble families, tended to the horses and packed provisions, preparing for the long journey ahead. Commoners, eager for salvation and adventure, volunteered as foot soldiers, knowing the road to the Holy Land would be long and perilous. The village square was filled with the murmur of excited voices as heralds unfurled the banners of their lords. Soldiers were chosen based on their loyalty to their lords and their physical strength. Those strong enough to wield a weapon were deemed worthy. The air was thick with anticipation, and many young men saw the crusade as their only chance to escape poverty and gain honor. The most experienced knights were handpicked by their lords to lead companies into battle. These were men with years of combat experience, having fought in countless feudal skirmishes across Europe. They rode with pride, their banners flapping in the cool breeze as they led their men, sworn to uphold the cross above all else. Knights brought with them a retinue of squires and men-at-arms, young men who sought to prove their valor. These squires marched alongside their masters, carrying the weight of their armor and learning the art of war. They would be tested in battle, their actions determining if they would one day earn the title of knight. The crusading armies were organized into companies led by captains, men chosen for their skill, loyalty, and leadership abilities. Each company consisted of knights, men-at-arms, archers, and infantrymen, forming a formidable force. The men marched in disciplined columns, their boots crunching on the dry, dusty roads that led towards Jerusalem. Foot soldiers, comprised largely of peasants and commoners, were tasked with the grunt work of the campaign. They carried supplies, built fortifications, and formed the bulk of the fighting force, armed with spears, axes, and crude swords. The sun beat down on them, their simple tunics soaked with sweat, but the promise of absolution kept them moving. Crossbowmen, who were recruited for their precision, were essential to the Crusader forces. These soldiers, usually from urban backgrounds where they had learned their craft, stood at the rear of the formation, their eyes scanning the horizon for threats. The cold morning air caused their fingers to tremble, but their aim remained steady as they awaited orders. Advancement within the Crusader ranks was possible, though it required valor, loyalty, and often connections. A mere foot soldier could gain recognition through an act of bravery, saving a knight, rallying men in the midst of battle, or slaying a notable enemy. These deeds could earn a man the title of sergeant, or, for the truly fortunate, even a squire's role under a noble knight. One such notable soldier was William Desbar, who began as a lesser knight but distinguished himself during the Crusades. His valor caught the eye of King Richard I, and he was eventually promoted to one of the king's trusted commanders. His rise was a testament to the idea that the battlefield was a place where men could change their fates. Sergeants formed the backbone of the Crusader forces, serving as leaders of the infantry and support to the knights. These men often came from the lower nobility or had risen through the ranks due to their loyalty and bravery. They shouted orders, their voices hoarse from the dry desert air, ensuring that the lines held firm against enemy attacks. The Knights Templar and Knights Hospitaller were elite fighting units that also served as medics and protectors of pilgrims. These soldiers were bound by strict codes of conduct, dedicating their lives to God and the crusade. They rode into battle with unwavering faith, their white cloaks emblazoned with red crosses, a symbol of their sacred mission. The cavalry, the pride of the Crusader forces, was composed of knights and their retainers, They were the spearhead of the army, their charges capable of breaking enemy lines with devastating force. The ground rumbled beneath the horses' hooves as they thundered forward, the knights' lances glinting in the midday sun. Logistics were crucial, and soldiers were assigned to manage the movement of supplies. These men ensured that food, water, and arms reached the front lines, their work often carried out in the searing heat of the Levant. The supply lines stretched for miles, and protecting them from enemy raids was a constant challenge. Siege engineers were chosen for their skills in constructing siege weapons like trebuchets and battering rams. These men, often trained in carpentry or masonry, worked tirelessly under the watchful eye of the generals. The clang of hammers echoed through the camp, the smell of sawdust mixing with the desert sands as they prepared for the inevitable sieges. Priests accompanied the Crusader armies, providing spiritual guidance and support. They moved among the soldiers, offering prayers and blessings, their voices a calming presence amid the chaos. The men knelt in the cool shade of their tents, seeking forgiveness and courage before the battles ahead. The commanders of the Third Crusade were men of noble birth, experienced in the art of war. Figures like King Richard the Lionheart and King Philip II of France led their armies with authority, their presence inspiring their troops. They rode at the front, their armor gleaming in the sun, the weight of leadership evident in their determined expressions. The Crusader army marched towards Acre, a key port city held by Saladin's forces. The journey was grueling, the summer heat unrelenting, and many soldiers fell to exhaustion and disease. Yet the sight of their banners fluttering in the hot breeze filled them with a renewed sense of purpose. Life in the Crusader camp was harsh, with soldiers sleeping on the hard ground under makeshift tents. The air was filled with the scent of sweat, unwashed bodies, and the ever-present dust of the arid landscape. Despite the hardships, camaraderie flourished among the men, their shared trials forging bonds that transcended social class. As they neared the holy city, the soldiers felt the weight of their mission more than ever. The thought of reclaiming Jerusalem from Saladin filled them with both hope and dread. The sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows over the camp, and the men whispered prayers into the gathering darkness. Tomorrow, they would face their destiny. Our journey through time comes to an end for today. We embark on new adventures every week. If you relish the experience, please like and subscribe.